Hello, everybody.
We are live on Dealer Refresh. Everyone, thank you. Welcome aboard. This is, I don't even know what number Dealer Refresh we are on with Alex. Do you? I have no idea. We'll have to go back.
332.
Yeah, 332.
Yeah, something like that.
Well,
since you and I started doing it together.
Exactly. All right, so again, welcome aboard. We've got something a little bit different this Friday, sort of out of the typical wheelhouse of Dealer Refresh, but that's what we do sometimes. We sort of venture out there and find out, what some of the new technologies, different services out there that dealerships should maybe, take the opportunity to look at. We've got, revenue streams within the within the dealership that have a tendency to, I don't want to say completely disappearing, but we're definitely not making the money on the front end, the back end the way we used to. So, are there some opportunities out there to make up for some of those losses? And so that's our job, to go out there as with Dealer Refresh and find some of those opportunities. So today, really excited. We've got Mike Keaton and Ryan Fitzgerald from Dealer Policy. What they offer is a service for dealerships, I guess, to be a reseller of car insurance. And I'm pretty sure I'm missing a lot that goes along with that. So Mike and Ryan, of course, you can fill us in. Before we get started, Alex, a sponsor of this Refresh Friday is?
Podium.
And Podium has some news, right?
They do.
They do. What is the news?
Well, you're the one who sent it to me.
I know, and
No.
I sent it to you because you're good friends with the guys over there. No, they've got some.
No, I sent it off to them this morning with a big congrats, but they're being recognized by Forbes for their achievements.
Yeah, what, top 100 or?
Yes, and they're being recognized as, I think it has to do with how they do things in the cloud.
Mm-hmm.
So cloud-based software, top 100, which is great because Podium is fairly fresh to the automotive business. And,
yeah, well, they're outside of the automotive. I believe that's where they got their start. Reputation management, reviews, smaller businesses within other verticals, correct?
That's right.
Yeah, actually, they work with some larger companies as well. So if you're looking for more information, if you need some help with reputation management, reviews, all that good stuff, jump over to Dealer Refresh forums or the blog. We've got ads over there. Be sure to click on the ads. Ad Click Friday. Just come over to Dealer Refresh, click on all the ads, and but definitely click on Podium, see what they have going on. It'll take you to a landing page. You can sign up for more information. The gentlemen over there, there's some great guys over there, some great women. They've got just a fantastic service going on. And again, it's funny. You visit different dealerships, or else I get the opportunity to visit different dealerships, and I'm thinking everyone is totally in tune with reputation management and reviews. Everyone, like who isn't signed up with?
Jeff, we've got a conversation on the forums right now talking about how many dealers probably don't even have access to their own Google Analytics.
Well, yeah,
just like a decade older than reviews.
Yeah, well, that's very true. But you're right. It's my whole point is it's you think even being closer to the metropolitan area here on the East Coast, you would still think that more dealerships are dialed in, and they're just not. It's mind-boggling, in my opinion. So.
Well, how about dealers that are dialed in on what they're doing with their customers' insurance?
Speaking of, well, are there any dealerships really dialed in? Again, like I said, when we opened up, it's it's a great opportunity for an additional revenue stream or to make up for dealers. We spend a lot of money on different software, different services. tons, within marketing, et cetera. So is there a way to maybe make up for or cushion those monthly incomes?
Well, and how many products, I might be jumping out a little ahead here, but I especially like products that A, make me money, and B, make my customers happy. So
Well, and the way to make the customer happy, of course, is helping them save money.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think that's sort of what we've got on board here with Dealer Policy. So welcome aboard, Mike and Ryan. Thank you so much for joining us this Refresh Friday.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us, guys. We appreciate the opportunity.
You got it. So we're excited to just dive in to see what you guys have to offer. Again, something very different. The opportunity for dealerships to make some additional revenue, maybe cushion what some of the different areas that we've lost. We're not making as much money as we used to in the front and the back end of new car and used car. So what are some other opportunities to make some additional revenue stream? So with that being said, Alex, if you want to add to that, feel free.
I'm just ready to find out what this Polish product is. It's like Win Double-O-sk I.
Winooski.
Oh yeah, the Winooski.
Winooski Insurance.
Come on, you're from Vermont, aren't you?
Yeah,
I know. It's fun to say.
yeah, we have.
How does that tie in with Dealer Policy? What is Winooski and what is Dealer Policy?
Yeah, so Dealer Policy is the technology platform that we have. You can think of it kind of sitting on top of Winooski. Winooski is the licensed, appointed insurance entity that we write all the business through. So all the policies that we write that come from dealerships and their customers, they all have to funnel through kind of regulatory reasons. They all have to funnel through Winooski Insurance. So that's our insurance platform that we acquired about 3 years ago to facilitate this grand plan and this technology platform, which we call Dealer Policy.
Okay.
So Dealer Policy.
And Winooski is a great little town next to Burlington, Vermont.
Yes.
Lots of good food and places to hang out.
About 1 square mile wide, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah, we've been thinking about actually changing that name and making it something like Dealer Policy Insurance or something like that, because it confuses people sometimes.
Oh, but then you wouldn't be able to say Winooski. That's too much fun.
I mean, I like it, and we have
I would stick with it, definitely. Well, how does that tie in with Dealer Policy? And is there 2 different entities, or is your main business Dealer Policy?
Our main business is Dealer Policy. So Dealer Policy is a digital insurance agency for dealerships. Mainly it's a software and a hardware. We have hardware that are tablets that we bring into dealerships. And there's a bunch of insurance companies that compete on the platform. There's about 24. People like Progressive, Travelers, Safeco, MetLife, they all compete on the platform, which results in an average savings of about $66 and about $66.57 a month for customers. So we kind of have Dealer Policy as a software and a hardware component to it.
I was one of my buddies works at, actually I have a few buddies who work at Dealer Policy, but the one of them was telling me about that savings, that up to $66 a month that people can save on a monthly basis. And it got me thinking, how does that happen? How many of us are actually not going out and shopping our insurance policy on a regular basis?
I haven't shopped my own insurance policy in probably since I've had insurance.
Yeah,
I'm still with the same big company that I originally started with too.
Yeah, I don't even think about it. I've got the same insurance company. it's a great company. I have a great relationship with them, but it's not something, I guess maybe because I do have such a great relationship that I trust, and I trust that I'm getting, the best monthly deal that I can get. But the truth is, when I did take the opportunity to shop around, I'm like, shit, I could have been saving a couple $100 every month. I mean, that's pretty big.
Jeff, you're not too different than the majority of the population out there, right? You know, two things. One, insurance.
A little different, I'd say.
Yeah, right. Insurance has become a commodity, so customers are interested in the lowest price for, you know, good solid coverage, good solid liability, deductibles, so on and so forth. But it's difficult. It's difficult to go out and shop insurance because there really is no resource until just recently. It gives the customer the ability to have price, choice, transparency, right? So, you know, our customers can go onto the system in a very short period of time, milliseconds, you know, 90 seconds, get quotes from 24 different insurance carriers. If you were to go out and do that on your own, it would take a long time. So, you know, that's part of the reason why customers don't shop frequently, because it's not easy to go out and do that, right? So we're providing dealerships the ability to offer this customer service and this potential savings at the point of sale in a car dealership, which is great timing. A customer needs to make some sort of change, whether it's a new vehicle on a current policy or a new policy altogether, but do it in a way that provides that choice, you know, and price, and obviously transparency. And then that's kind of our core fundamentals that we focus on with our dealerships.
Yeah, and I would just add a simple point is insurance is become sort of a commodity. It's not fun to think about, right? Who thinks about their insurance or wants to shop it or do anything with it whatsoever? It's generally something you just have to have, right? And it's
By law.
yeah, it's not a fun thing to think about or do anything with. And again, as Mike said, if you were to do this on your own and go to, you know, Geico, Travelers, Progressive, Liberty Mutual, MetLife, all these companies, it would take you 6 hours. So that's why it's cool what we've done. We've
only 6 hours. I'm thinking 16 to 26.
Yeah, we've compressed that down into you know 90 seconds or so, and it sounds. We tell dealers all the time, it sounds simple, and it's like, yeah, okay, whatever. But there's a really complex and expensive technology API system that underlies it, and it's, you know, costs probably $50-60 million to build over a long period of time. So this wasn't possible, you know, a while ago. So it's you know, there are a lot of reasons why people don't do it.
You know, another important piece to add to, you know, there is some statistics out there that you should be shopping your insurance every couple of years, every 2 to 3 years, let's say. Reason being, you know, in addition to a carrier network that's very robust, like our carrier network, the appetite for risk at individual insurance carriers changes from time to time. So that carrier that you may have today may have priced you out more competitively than the rest a year ago or 3 years ago, Jeff, in your case, you're 18. But those appetites for risk change. Your motor vehicle record can change. There could be incidents happen with that. So, you know, by frequently shopping your insurance and using a comparative rater like, you know, the system that we've put together, it delivers significant customer savings. And I think, you know, let's hit the nail on the head when we started. He's talked about improving dealership gross revenues and customer service, and doing that through, you know, completing the, let's say, the cycle of service for a car buying customer. You know, the one piece of the process they don't really control today or don't really facilitate or help the customer facilitate would be auto insurance. So if you can kind of round that out, that total car buying process, and offer a customer the means to, or provide the customer the save money, I think you have a happier car buying customer, and you certainly have better revenues in customer buying.
Yeah, it makes sense. So I mean, basically, you guys are, you know, if you were to step back and look at the travel industry, where if you were going to take a trip 15 years ago, or well, maybe even just 10 years ago, you'd have to check on various airlines and various hotels, and now you can just go to one website and
Kayak.
Yep.
Yeah, we make that analogy often when we're describing, you know, what we've done to dealers and other people who have never heard of it before. We say it's kind of like an Orbitz or Kayak. You go on and you price out hotels, airlines. We do that same thing, but with insurance companies for auto, home, etc.
So is that the platform that Winooski is?
No, that's the dealer policy platform.
Okay.
Winooski is more of an administrative platform
Okay.
where we hold our carrier appointments and our regulatory stuff and licensing, et cetera. Dealer policy is the dealer facing the technology.
So a consumer can come in, sit down with a dealership that has a partnership with Dealer Policy,
Yep.
and be able to shop their car insurance up against several other insurance companies, including their own, and like you're saying, actually have an average savings of, you had it down to the penny, $66 and some odd cents.
Yep.
You know, I mean, when I think about that, you know, I'm thinking, okay, we have customers that come in and just beat us up over $5 a month.
That's right.
You know, $10 a month. And, you know, I work at a Benz dealership and they still do the same thing, $15 a month. And I'm thinking, you know, if I have the opportunity to save them $40 a month, you know, $50 a month, and now they're looking at their car. Well, I just saved you, let's say I just saved you $50 a month, but you're complaining about $15 a month. Ooh, there's a lot of opportunity here. All of a sudden, they're not worried about that $15 a month. Instead, they're saying, hey, I got another $35, $40 to work with. Let's get the one with the premium package.
Yeah, $66 is, well, it's true. It's $66.57 if you put some average terms out there for an auto loan. You know, it would come out to somewhere around $3,000 to $4,000 in buying power.
Yeah, on a loan, on a lease, you get even more.
Yeah.
We talk to people about that all the time. That's how we talk about helping margins and battling the margin compression situation. Instead of reducing your margins, you know, utilize the insurance savings first. Use it first and see if you can save money before you kind of reduce, you know, front end pricing, et cetera. So we talk about that a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's a great opportunity to hold gross.
Yeah.
Well, there's some questions coming in, and actually, I'm really thrilled to see some of our friends who are coming in and watching this right now. Some dealers down in Virginia and Tennessee and whatnot, and because this would be really helpful for them. I know their operations quite well, and but there is a question from Rick Buffkin. There's always a question from Rick.
There's always a question from Rick.
They're always good.
We hit them all.
We always appreciate Rick. That's for sure.
Yep, there's always a good one. So he's just trying to figure out, is this something that would be in the F&I office, or is this something where you might hire like an aftermarket person who would be separate to the, you know, the salesperson customer relationship?
Yeah, it's a good question. So we've learned a lot over time. We've found that it's not really an F&I product. It seems natural to kind of fit there.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, that's natural because you could utilize the insurance savings to upsell VSCs, warranties, gap, et cetera.
Yeah.
We originally thought that was it. That's the way to do it. But what we found is it's a bottleneck in the F&I room. So typically there's only, you know, 1, 2, 3 F&I people, depending on volume, in a given store. And if they're doing, you know, 50, 60, 70 turns, whatever, per person, when we have the insurance component, which takes about 13 minutes on average to do, but the range is more like 10 to 30 minutes. It's one of the kind of the challenges. It does take a little bit of time, but 13 minutes, you know, in the F&I room when they're already pitching other products, it becomes a bottleneck. So we've put it sort of right in the gap between the end of the sales process and the beginning of F&I. So there's traditionally a gap in there. So right at the end, a salesperson would essentially say, hey, we work with this great company, Dealer Policy. They help people with their insurance. They save people $66.57 a month on average. Why don't you spend a couple minutes? I got to go do some paperwork, gas up the car, whatever, before you head into F&I.
I'm going to go eat my lunch now.
For that. That's how, yeah.
I don't smoke, but we'll go smoke a cigarette.
So the answer is usually salespeople are sort of facilitating towards the end of that process.
That's interesting. I wouldn't have thought that at all. I was definitely thinking, the F&I, but I can definitely see the bottleneck. And also, you sit down with the F&I manager and you go, hey, I've got one more product here you have to sell.
Yeah, no, it's true.
That's what happens. It just
Unless there's a nice commission on the other end of that service, they're going to sort of shy away from it initially.
And I will note that our dealerships, we got about 160 or so. They do it differently. Sometimes some stores use it in the F&I office, and they like it, and they see value there. We're very flexible on our end, but by and large, it's where I talked about.
Yeah,
Well, and you mentioned how many stores you have, and I do want to point out for everyone who's tuned in since we first went live that this is something that DealerRefresh likes to do on occasion when we do come across a product that's worthy of our community, in our opinion. We definitely want to spotlight it, and that's what we're doing here today. It's a startup. You guys are a startup, and we want to get your name out there.
Yeah, no.
You guys solve two issues for dealers. You make them more money, and you make their customers happier. So
absolutely. Yeah, that's kind of, those are the big things we pitch. Extra income. Our average store makes about $1,850 a month on what we call referral payments, and we can talk about that after. It's the customer service on the savings. People always love that. And then also selling additional F&I products and or using the product on the front end. So it all kind of helps to really make the dealer more money and make the customers happy.
And to add a little bit of color to that, we have an amazing support team that will go out and train dealership employees and really speak to the dealer principals and GMs about where the opportunity in their gross profits or gross revenues lie. Is the opportunity needed in PVR? Is it on the front end? And our team, while we've like Brian mentioned, we've learned that F&I can be a bit of a bottleneck. If using those savings to leverage or to help with back-end product sales, we can certainly, our team will work with theirs to make sure that that's how it's set up. And inversely on the front end, if we want to try to hold more front-end margin or just stop the handful of deals they lose every month due to not being able to come to terms with a customer, we can help them with that, and it's a really simple, easy process.
that's interesting. As you're saying this, I'm reminded of years ago when another product came to market called DealerRater. And DealerRater is a review tool for car dealerships. And when they came out, they offered training as well, free training, and it was not really necessary. Submitting rating or reviews and whatnot is kind of a no-brainer. But
Yeah.
In order to best use their product better, there was that training there for dealers who did want to take advantage. And I think it's very cool that you're offering it.
Yeah,
absolutely. It's part of our commitment to being, true business partners with a car dealership. We're not charging for this product today, so it's a really nice value add, but it's got to bring value for the dealership for it to get used.
Yeah. Well, we might, I think we've taken a bit of a turn towards the selling too much dealer policy now. Back to some of the best practices around.
Well, but again, like you said, it's one thing
that
that we take pride in, and that's introducing some of the startup companies out there that, that have the type of new service. So it's, and I know, it's hard enough in our industry for any company to break through. Especially startups. It's never fun. I've been on that side before. I've been with the startup companies, and it's it can be a struggle sometimes, no matter how great your product is.
Yeah, it's a real challenge for sure.
Well, I got a question for you guys.
What's your
So,
question, Alex?
yeah, so if I'm a dealer, and this was one of my first thoughts when I heard about dealer policy originally, it's like, well, so I'm a dealer and I've got a team of salespeople that are already out selling cars. And if I'm going to try and sell insurance or help to do something with insurance, like many dealers did decades ago, what's going to stop me from just making my own agency and taking all the profit that you would get from being an insurance agency?
Can a dealership even do that?
Yeah, they can do that. They can start their own agency, like if I understood the question right, an Allstate or Farmers. There's many programs out there like that. We talk about this all the time. There's a lot involved. You're going away from core very significantly. Core meaning selling cars and F&I products, and you're starting this whole new business that you have to staff. You have to get carrier appointments. You have to get regulatory approval from the Department of Financial Regulation. There's all these things you have to take space out of your showroom or out of your facilities. And there's just all these things you have to do to get an insurance agency and business up and running. And then very often you're not profitable until year 4 or 5, 6. So it takes a lot of front loading and effort up front. But I mean, it's not. We don't.
You just said the key thing, by the way, Ryan. So, no offense to all the dealers listening, but I don't know many dealers who have the kind of patience to wait for a profit for 4 years after igniting something.
Very few.
Yeah, we've done the math out a bunch of times, and Mike and I were just doing it the other day, and I think we calculated, net earnings after year 1 based on a 150 unit store or something to be like 78 grand. Not even net earnings, sorry, that was revenue. 78 grand if based on certain metrics and whatnot. And then obviously you have all your costs. So, you're probably losing money for a couple of years, but we don't hate on those models. We don't talk bad against them. They absolutely can work. They traditionally work for higher unit stores, like 250 units a month plus, and the willingness to wait until year 5, 6. You really can, in insurance, you have something called renewals. So you basically get paid a commission, every year that you retain a certain customer. So you can really build up a customer base. And that's, you can certainly build the book of business and it can be done right, but it takes a lot of effort and focus and resources to do that. So that's kind of, where we try to, not to go back to us, but we try to pull all that stuff away and offer dealers a lot of the benefits to a traditional agency, including the income, but take away a lot of the headache and the overhead and whatnot.
Yeah, I think the best question for a dealership principal to ask themselves is, do they want to start a new venture? Do they want to start an insurance business? With that, knowing all the things that Ryan just said, do that research and figure out what it's going to cost you, what you're going to have to go through from a regulatory standpoint, how much of your showroom you're going to have to kind of set aside for this sort of thing. Or do you want to just continue to focus on core? And what I mean by that is selling cars, selling back-end products, and delivering top-tier customer service. If that's what you want to do, then dealer policy is a great product for you because you don't sell insurance. You're just offering a customer the means to get coverage, get appropriate coverage, good solid coverage at a great rate and in a convenient process.
Well, and save money.
And save money, right? Absolutely.
On a monthly basis.
I know. I'm going to be talking to you guys after this show, by the way. I've been with Allstate for about 20 years now.
You're like everybody else.
Thing. I'm feeling a little naive and dumb.
Yeah, And I always, yeah, I don't want to, again, we keep talking about our stuff, but, you know, the $66.57, that's a simple kind of arithmetic average of about 15,000 or so transactions. And I'm always surprised we recalculate it monthly. I'm always like, wow, really saving people, you know, almost $1,000 a year on average? Like that's, see, it still seems odd to me, but it's true. So it's interesting.
So you said that that the time. So let's say we're waiting for the F&I office, and quite often that's 30 minutes to an hour wait. Let's just be honest about it, guys.
Yeah.
So it takes on average 13 minutes, as you were saying, for the actual conversation to occur, or the process to occur for the insurance side. And you said the range can be anywhere from 10 to 30 minutes. And I'm curious how often that conversation is just about the car insurance. I'm a homeowner too, so I would want to talk about everything that I insure.
Yep. So it's almost always going to the point of talking about home and other things, home, renters, motorcycle, whatever it is. Because there are bundling discounts, right, in insurance. If you bundle your home or your motorcycle or whatever, there are discounts there. So we almost always talk about it. But what we like to try and do is talk about home only, or sorry, auto only in the dealership, and talk about home and other things outside of the dealership, because it takes too much time. It doesn't take too much more time, but it takes added time. So we sort of we do our best at factoring in the various discounts for home, etc., but really only binding the auto policy in the dealership.
Well, man, yeah, I mean, if you save us too much money, I might go from the Hyundai to the Porsche.
Sometimes people can afford nicer cars.
Well, that's the whole purpose of it. That's where I find this to be such a valuable service for dealerships. It's, being able to hold some gross and, cushion that monthly payment for the customer, and, upgrade their vehicle, and especially with a lease, man, my goodness.
Yeah.
Now, do you have any dealers that, and that's funny, Ely, sorry, there's some comments coming through on Facebook. Do you have any dealers that are sort of pre-selling the dealer policy experience before the customer comes into the showroom, maybe?
When's a great time to introduce it?
Yeah, I think some people are definitely pre-selling it. It's not really, it's not the typical experience now. I think it's, again, right as the customer's starting to think about insurance, which is maybe towards the end of the sales process before they're going into F&I. But people definitely talk about it, salespeople, F&I people, before, if they're on the phone with somebody or chatting or email, and the topic of insurance comes up, they'll definitely introduce it prior to the store visit.
Okay. So, I mean, do you think there's going to come a day when a dealer would have a dealer's policy product inside their website?
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah, that's a great point. So there's this thing called Rate Call 3 in insurance, which basically allows...
What's it called again?
Rate Call 3, RATE Call 3. Basically allows the binding of an insurance policy online, 100% online. And believe it or not, it sounds simple, but it's kind of a big deal, and it hasn't been done effectively for the most part. Now, you can do it now. People like Geico do it. Big companies like Geico, Progressive, you can do it now. But
ones where you can compare other insurance companies up against theirs?
Yeah, no, it's just
they're using their price gun in a very biased way.
Yeah, you can basically, again, it's basically the ability to bind online without speaking to a licensed insurance agent.
Okay.
So it's really just filling out a form and being able to do the whole thing, the whole transaction online. Sounds simple, but it's just not quite there yet in the insurance industry. And so we're working on that, but ultimately, there's a lot of factors that play into it. Insurance carrier wise, not all of them are ready to do that, and they don't have the technology is another big factor. But I would say in the next couple of years for sure, that will be one of the main ways to kind of do this.
Yep. Okay. So I was wondering why insurance isn't sold online.
Yeah.
There you go.
I mean, you can do it online.
I saw a service. I think it was a commercial on TV about less than 2 months ago, and they were offering some type of, jump online, get onto their service, and compare different insurance companies across the board. Within a couple of clicks, you can have, you can compare different insurance companies, how much you're going to save, and sign right up with them.
Yeah, there are companies like Compare.com, eSurance. You can go on. We call them comparative raters. They're SEO driven, websites, and you can definitely go on and compare. Usually they have, maybe 5-6 carriers. We try and build up our carrier. We want to have as many as we possibly can, ultimately. They usually have a little bit of a limited selection. It's very, again, online driven, but there's sites out there you can do it.
And you can expect the consumer experience to be a little bit more like a lending tree, for lack of a better term. You're going to get a lot of
that's scary.
But you're going to get contacted by all these different
That's scary, man. Oh my God.
Yeah, exactly.
I wrote an article about that on DealerRefresh probably about 10 years ago. My lending tree experience, man. I was comparing it to the experience of submitting your information into a car dealership versus submitting your information into Lending Tree. I was like, if you really want a bad experience, go through Lending Tree. You'll think dealerships are like God's.
To be honest, I mean, that's what it's like working with us, right? You're going to talk to our wholly owned brokerage. You're going to talk to an agent, a person that's just like speaking to any other independent agency out there. But with this high-powered ability to make sure that we can save you money or at least get you the best possible quote in coverage rates, and you have that personal relationship, and you're not getting bombarded by 10 different carriers or insurance agencies trying to get your business, right? It's that really personal touch, one-on-one touch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like going into if a dealership was a mall, kind of like maybe Motor World in Pennsylvania or something like that, where there's multitude of franchises and a big used car lot, and you can go with one salesperson and look at it all if you wanted to.
We still get that personal touch.
Yeah.
And that's important.
So Rick is asking if there are any conversion metrics you guys could share. That's pretty open.
Conversion metrics. So typically we don't disclose those, but I think at a high level, we could tell you that we write insurance policies for about 20% of car buying customers. So 20 out of 100, customers that buy cars at a dealership, they sell 100 units a month. We sell a policy to about 20 of them. And speaking of comparative raters, they have about that same metric, those eSurance, et cetera. They have a conversion ratio of about 2%, 1.5 to 2% on average. So 20% might not sound all that wonderful, but in the insurance industry, it's an absolute home run, and our carriers are like, whoa.
I don't know a dealer on this planet who wouldn't be thrilled with a 20% conversion rate.
Exactly. But yeah, we have a whole slew of metrics that kind of drive and result in that figure there.
Okay. Hopefully that answers your question, Rick.
Yeah, we like many.
Is this an ongoing revenue stream for dealerships, or is it just a one-time they sell the policy? And
So very important to note that we pay the dealership $50 per connected customer into our call center. It is not contingent upon a sold policy because that's against a variety of regulatory guidelines. So we pay $50, per connected person, which is basically means a customer receives quotes, etc. And it is an ongoing revenue stream. It's a monthly thing. The dealership gets paid out. Our average store makes $850 a month on average. Some big stores make 5,000. Some small make 500. But it all depends on volume and how well they use the tool. But it is an ongoing revenue stream.
Again, to me, that's just a nice little side benefit.
Yeah, that's right.
That's to me, it's all about utilizing the tool to help close deals.
Yeah. And I will just add too, if you're a group, we meet with groups all the time that have, 10, 12, 15 stores. And if you do the math out, some of these groups make an extra $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 a year. So it actually is meaningful when you do the math out on a supplementary kind of side income stream, like you said.
Yeah. When I first started selling cars, there were a lot of insurance agents who would come into the dealership. This is back in the 90s, by the way. But insurance agents would come into the dealership and, try and get us to hawk their stuff, give us a bunch of pins and, hey, if somebody's interested in insurance, send them my way. Rarely did they provide us a kickback of any which way, shape, or form, with the exception of, I think, maybe one of our finance managers, because she did a good job with stuff. But that practice has really died, hasn't it?
Yeah, I would say that it really hasn't died. It's still there, and I think there are some carriers out there that are compensating in some way, shape, or form for referrals, Allstate and Farmers and Liberty Mutual. There are some other dealership programs out there. They're starkly different than ours, and they can't really provide the same value. But I think by and large, dealerships are doing something with insurance today, meaning they're sending their customers to Geico, they're calling the local agent. But they're doing it because they need to get a buyer to get a deal done. They're not doing it because there's this value in this comparative rater that's going to, really give back to the dealership, create a better consumer buying experience.
Well, you don't hear too much, or at least I don't hear much at like a national level. It's like Allstate having a dealer participatory program.
Sure.
Or anything like that.
I wonder why.
Well, for a while they were going after it. So if you're using Allstate, for example, I think at their peak they had just under 300 total dealerships, and that number has dwindled dramatically. And they offer a good product. They have good insurance coverage. We're not talking poorly about Allstate as a company, but they have one risk profile, so one trick pony, so to speak. And part of their program is that your dealership becomes a licensed brokerage. So you have to go through all that regulatory, all that training that Ryan talked about earlier in our program. You have to have a certain staffing level, and you have to open up an actual broker in your dealership. And with all of that comes a pretty heavy break even. So we had the opportunity to speak with some folks over at Allstate, and we learned that most dealerships don't break even unless they sell 250 units a month. The national average is, let's just say much less than that, about 1,000 cars a year. So, unless you're part of that upper echelon, that type of program wouldn't even work for your dealership.
Yeah, a lot of work for not a lot of return.
Yeah, those programs by and large just haven't been very successful. We run into Liberty Mutual all the time. That's the most common one out there. They have reps, basically, that just like you talked about, Alex, that come in, I'll give you a little gift card and say, hey, send me some business. But they just, yeah, they're not. You don't hear about them because, again, frankly, they're not that successful for them. It's not a big for whatever reason. They've had a hard time making dealership business work. So they've kind of, I think, on the carrier side, on the insurance side, they've sort of thrown their hands up a little bit and been like, all right, this is the whole dealership kind of model isn't working for us. And there's several other factors. We have something called adverse selection insurance, which it refers to kind of, in the dealer world, subprime customers being funneled to carriers, and they get a lot of quote subprime. We call it non-standard business, and it's not a business. It's not business that the carrier likes, and so combined all those factors, they just kind of let it go a little bit.
And beyond liking the business or not, they might just straight out not write the business. So if you were to adopt a program like that has a certain risk profile or certain appetite for risk, your first time car buyers, anybody that maybe had a few mistakes on their driving record, they may not even be eligible to get coverage, right? So we're certainly not going after that type of business. We're going after a network of carriers that gives us the diversity to be able to write any type of customer that comes to the dealership's door. So your Liberties, your Farmers, your Allstates, they're really looking for one type of customer. And I think you guys both know from being in dealerships for as long as you have, you get all kinds of demographics that walk through, and you need to be able to help customers alike. So, being able to do that, have a property that offers that diversity and the ability to write insurance for just about any customer is a big benefit to dealerships.
Yeah. You were speaking of success. What are some, what dealerships are you working with that are having some huge success? Maybe some examples on how are they getting the message out? What are they doing to really make it work for them?
Yeah, so we're working with some big players. I guess we won't get into the names too much. I can tell you a couple. Work with the DCH group out of New Jersey. It's a Lithia brand. Work with some Prime stores. Prime's a nice brand in the Northeast, and a bunch of other groups. But it's really, the dealers are really just doing it at the time of sale. In the dealership, they're not really. We've been approached multiple times asking about marketing ahead of time.
Yes. So they're not advertising ahead of time. It's not part of their message, part of their brand. It's just right there. They come into the dealership, take advantage of the opportunity right there and then.
Yep, not so far. And again, we've been approached and asked about being put on billboards and on websites and whatnot, and we've sort of restricted that for now. But it's been a kind of a word of mouth phenomenon so far.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's great. I mean, you can't ask for better if it's word of mouth.
Yeah.
And the process in the dealership is very, very simple. Like I said, F&I people, they don't become insurance salespeople, right? There's a couple questions that a customer needs to ask in order to get rates back. Salespeople typically combine that with the finance application, the credit app inside the dealership. You're already asking a customer a number of questions about, their credit background and income and so on and so forth. So to ask about who their carrier is and what their monthly payment is, it's pretty simple.
Well, yeah. And Alex, you said something about, maybe introducing this online, and it had my wheels turning. I'm thinking about what are some different areas online that you could introduce this, and you almost answered that question. A lot of dealerships have online credit applications. Right. Within that credit application, maybe there's some key questions that we can ask right there and then, find out what are they currently spending with their agency. I mean, it's a credit app. They're going to feel okay answering those questions. What are you currently spending? Who are you with? Would you be interested in saving an average of $66 per month?
That's right. Jeff, you're right in that same vein. I think you're spot on. And we kind of jumped out ahead of that. And we actually created a credit application that lives inside of our dealership marketplace. So it's your standard credit app application, similar to what every dealership has. And we just tag our questions onto the bottom of it. So it makes it a really simple process. And then we have some strategic integrations with your Route Ones and Dealer Tracks of the world. So, and you can ascertain some process improvement and efficiencies just by using our credit application. But it just gets it in the system very quickly and easily, and it's not this painful process change that a dealership has to go through.
Are you working with any other companies other than car dealerships that still sell to the car buying consumer, such as
maybe or maybe even a lender where somebody's walked into the bank to get their pre-approval or something?
It's a good question. There's a variety of parties that we could partner with, realtors, lenders, all sorts of people. We've decided to really just focus on our core, which is dealerships, and we know the dealership landscape well, and we there's a million avenues. We get sidetracked almost weekly on various partnerships. And I'm a VP of business development, so I have to think about those a lot. But we've decided to focus on dealerships.
I'm chuckling at that. I like the stay focused on your core.
That's right.
I think a few of your investors would enjoy that statement too.
They're probably listening. So
yes. So I want to make sure that I'm telling someone the right thing in the Facebook comments, but we've got a question that I think we've covered, but I just want to make sure I restated it properly. Is asking about state regulations and license to sell insurance in the dealership, and I told him that I don't think that it's anything the dealer needs to be concerned with because you're the one selling the insurance.
Yep,
the dealer's simply just starting the conversation.
Yeah, they don't need, they say, hey, we work with this great company, Dealer Policy. They save people $70 a month. Here's a tablet. You want to spend a couple minutes and connect with Dealer Policy and see if you can save some money on your insurance. So the dealership needs no licensing whatsoever, no appointments, no nothing. In fact, they when it comes to the sale of insurance, they can't have any involvement whatsoever. That's way other than this little kind of introduction. I can't even use the word facilitate because that's kind of not right either. But it's really this kind of introductory thing. But all the licensing, again, that's the beauty. We said it before. All the licensing and everything is taken away from this.
So here's maybe a simple way to look at it, and I'll say it. I don't know that you can say it, but for our dealers, you guys, so basically the dealer becomes a lead provider to you.
That's
and
what I was saying.
By the lead.
For once, we're allowed to sell leads, right? We're good.
Right.
Totally changing the tables here.
Yes.
There's got to be some appeal in that alone.
We like to think we're a lot more than that. It's actually offensive, but no, I'm just kidding.
Can we sell you fake leads?
But
can we sell you duplicates too?
No, we don't accept those.
Yeah, exactly.
Can we check your DMS afterward?
Dial into it.
Yes.
No, that's fair.
Inside jokes.
There's this real, like, dealers are very loving of leads but hating of the providers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
a lot of times.
Yeah, no, it's true.
Well, gentlemen, we're coming up on the hour, and this is actually went a lot longer than what I thought it would, but so much great information, and it's just I guarantee you most dealerships aren't even thinking about something like this. I'm sure you run across this all the time. Dealerships are probably like, what is this? What's going on? I love it.
Well, and how much is it going to cost me? That's
of course, that's always the first question.
Yeah, just a point on that, we can kind of sum it up too, is that we think of this, we say it all the time, we think of this more of an opportunity for dealers. They always say, we don't have a problem with insurance. Everybody has insurance, they have an agent, they go to Geico. And we know that there's no real problem that we talked about it before. There's no real pain here, but we think it's, and we've seen it, you know, in all of our stores. It's an actual opportunity. We don't need to go down the road again in the benefits, but it's an opportunity to use insurance. It's a big component, you know, of the car buying.
It's a missed component for the car dealership.
Yeah, it's a big for the customer too.
Yeah.
And if you think about car insurance, it depends how you calculate it, but we view it as the second largest expense, and most often it is versus your lease payment or your loan payment. I think I remember it being like 17% of the total kind of payment after VSC and all of that. It's a big part for the customer. So if, as dealers, you can find a way to kind of use that and take advantage of it to help yourself in various profitability categories, it's an opportunity that hasn't kind of been thought about much, I don't think.
Well, so you're saying use it, but at the same time, you're also saying that the dealership isn't selling the insurance.
That's right.
They're not even allowed, don't even use that verbiage.
Yep.
But yet, again, to me, the big advantage here is saying, hey, we as a dealership, we give you the opportunity to save. We're helping you save $60 a month.
Yep.
Where can we reapply that? Of course, that being the payment of their next vehicle purchase.
Yep.
Is there anything against having a line item? So how long does it take to know that the customer is saving $60 a month? Is that something that happens a week down the road, or is it right there?
It's a 13-minute process.
So a 13-minute process. So could the dealership at that time, is there anything against, I know this maybe seems silly, but I want the customer to visually see that they are saving $60 per se on the invoice, and be able to work that and go, okay, here's your $60 savings in lieu of, additional monthly. I mean,
it's not a bad idea. I get that. They don't do that now, and ultimately we'll get to, e-menus and whatnot, and where
I want the customer to see that on a visual.
Yeah, we plan on getting there at some point. Again, it's be more of an e-menu kind of system where it's like you said, a line item.
I want that into I guess I don't know if it would go into the Foursquare, and that may be a little too early, but maybe the final Foursquare, maybe obviously the invoice.
Yeah, that's right. But now for us, it's just a very kind of a little bit more of an informal process. Like an F&I guy can pull up his dealer policy dashboard and see the savings, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then utilize that and talk to a customer and say, hey, I noticed you saved $67. If you want to kind of roll that over for no additional cost out of pocket to a VSC, warranty, gap, etc. And the same with the salesperson. He or she can see the savings and find out the savings and maybe use that on the front end to hold margin and whatnot. So
yeah,
you see it sort of in an informal way now. But they know.
I know it as a dealership signing up with this. I'd want to find out how I can make this as formal as possible to be able to utilize that additional savings again, because to me that's the win, is being able to hold gross, being able to bump the customer up. That's the magic pill right here, man. I love it.
I know, and you're desking deals, Jeff. So I mean, you'd send somebody in every time, say, here, make sure they do this, wouldn't you?
Absolutely.
We have multiple stores that do that. The guys at the tower, the sales managers at the tower, force the sales force to kind of bring up the quotes, and they make sure the salespeople have kind of ran customers through before they reduce margins, before they take a price cut and whatnot. So a lot of our stores kind of force that to happen.
Yeah. And then, again, on the back end, on occasion, or certain dealerships are incorporating the customer savings into the deal jacket. So
yeah, that's
the business office.
Again, that makes it very official. Makes it
absolutely. That customer, and it can be directly part of that conversation when we start to talk about certain VSCs or extended warranties. You just save $67. The platinum package is going to cost you $60, and you're going to still put $5 in your pocket, or whatever it is. It's transparent, and the customer's leaving with added peace of mind, and it's not viewed as spending more money to buy one of those packages.
It's awesome. Very awesome. Well, gentlemen, let's bring this to an end. Mike, Ryan, we really appreciate it. If a dealership would like to get in touch, has some additional questions, what's the best way to contact you?
So we left some email information for Alex, and I would say that would be the best. We can also pass along, cell phone numbers and whatnot.
What about dealerpolicy.com?
DealerPolicies.com is a great
A website, you know, we all have a tendency to have one of those.
Get in touch with us that way as well.
What's their, the dpsales.com?
Yes, we also have a kind of a communal sales email address. So dpsales@dealerpolicy.com.
Okay.
Yeah, anybody can send an
I guess I
email.
would just recommend hitting up dealerpolicy.com.
That's the best way to go. A
contact.
little bit more education on the product, and there's links to get in touch with us right there.
And say, hey, you know, I watched the Refresh Friday on DealerRefresh, and you know, I want a good deal.
Yeah.
No, that'd be great. Again, gentlemen, really appreciate this. We typically don't use Refresh Fridays to really talk about one specific service or product, but again, we pride ourselves in offering, you know, bringing to light some of the different startups out there, something that's new, that's not being sold to every dealership out there. Most dealerships aren't even aware of a service like this. So, you know, this is great. I love it. I mean, if I was a dealership, I'd be trying to figure out how do I integrate this and how do I utilize this and really maximize each opportunity with the customer and figuring out how I can get this to really have a positive impact on the bottom line.
Yeah, we appreciate the opportunity, guys, very much. We're sorry we get passionate and we get into the
No, it's fine. Don't worry about
into
that.
the sales mode really quick. So,
Well, you guys are the sales guys.
We
so
approached you gentlemen. So no, this has been great.
Yeah.
With that being said, again, thank you so much. We're going to bring this to an end. It's 2:00. Alex, next week we have Jason Rice with Lot Pop, and we're going to get into what's going on in the marketplace with pre-owned vehicles, and sort of also hit him on a little bit of a personal level. He's helped, you know, he started this company a couple years ago, and he's just opening up, I think, his second or third office because he continues to grow. I've got a sister dealership here, part of the younger group that's using his service. I've known Jason for a long time, very long time, probably ever since I got into the industry. He and I were one of the first ones to actually be on the cover of the wonderful Digital Dealer magazine back in the day. So excited to have him on board. And again, sponsor of this Refresh Friday, of course, is Podium. Reputation management, reviews. They've got a great service out there.
and texting solutions.
Yeah, and a great texting solution as well. So be sure to check them out. There's ads on Dealer Refresh on the blog and the forums. And we will be back here next Friday again with Jason Rice. Gentlemen, thank you so much again, Mike, Ryan.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate
Jeff.
it.
Yeah, you guys have a great weekend. We'll talk soon.
You as
too.
well. Take care.
All right, bye.
Bye.